Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second fall housing webinar with University Residences. My name is Frances. I go by she, her, hers pronouns, and I am going to be your host this evening. I'm a student employee working in the admissions office here at Western Washington University. I'm also a third year double majoring in communication studies and sociology. I also lived in Kappa my first year at Western. I really enjoyed living on campus. I had a positive experience doing so I highly recommend that. So I'm joined by housing leaders who are here to answer many of the questions that you have about living at Western this fall. We usually get to show off many of our showrooms across our beautiful 215-acre campus and answer your questions in person at the new Student Services Info Fair. Before I begin introductions, please begin compiling your questions in the chat. We will address as many questions as we can in the chat and to our senior managers. And with that, let's not waste any more time and meet our panelists. For questions that we don't get to, Housing will post all of the questions asked today and the answers to their website at housing.wwu.edu. To begin, let's meet our panelists. Let's start off with our Residence Life Associate Director, Vicki Vanderwerf. Vicki, tell us about what stood out to you the first time you came to Western and what your favorite thing about University Residences is.
Sure. So thanks, Frances. My name is Vicki Vanderwerf, Associate Director for Residence Life and University Residences. Use she, her pronouns. What I first noticed about the campus at Western was just how open and beautiful it is. You can walk around easily. People are friendly, say hi, chat as they walk by. Some of my favorite things are just how connected students are here, really have a strong voice, passion for equity, justice, for seeing improvements on campus, and really looking to be student leaders engaged on campus and really involved. So I really appreciate that about working at Western.
Awesome, thank you. Next up, we have Karen Walker. So Karen, what is your favorite thing about working for University Residences, and what do you remember about when you came to campus?
Thanks, Frances. I'm Karen Walker, Associate Director for Occupancy, Communication, and Administrative Services. And one of the things I noticed about campus is how it's very small in many ways, even though it's a large campus. And there's a lot of connection between folks, and I really felt like I had come to a home when I came here, and I still feel that way. So, yep.
Awesome, thank you, Karen. Next, we have Kurt Willis. So Kurt, what is your favorite thing about working for housing, and what do you remember when you first stepped foot on WWU's campus?
Sure, thanks, Frances. I'm Kurt Willis, Associate Director of Housing, responsible for the finance and technology matters of the housing system. The thing I first noticed about the campus when I came to Western was just the variety of settings that are there. From the architecture, from the trees, and the various nooks and so on that students can be with students, around students, or away from students. It's really a creatively built and accessible campus to connect with people. One of the things I like about working for the housing system is just the collegiality among the staff in housing, as well as the staff within our enrollment and student affairs division. We care about students, we care about people, and it shows in the way we connect with each other.
Thank you, Kurt. Next, let's move to the dining side of the panel. So Steve Wadsworth, what stood out to you when you came to WW, and what is your favorite thing about working for dining?
Hi, I'm Stephen Wadsworth, and I'm the resident district manager for dining services here on campus. The thing I enjoy the most about being on campus is how engaged our students are and how connected they are not only with the campus, but with the surrounding communities. You know, Bellingham is a beautiful place. There's a lot of outdoor activities to be able to enjoy. But the thing that stood out to me the first time I arrived on this campus was just how incredibly beautiful it was, sitting up on a hill under Seaholm Arboretum, looking out over the beautiful Bellingham Bay.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more with how beautiful Bellingham is. And then we also have Steve Erbe. So what about you? What is your favorite part about working for dining, and what do you remember most about Western when you first arrived?
So first thing, working for dining is getting to know all the different students and student groups and getting to work alongside of them and participate with them, doing special events, but also getting to share some of the food trends that are coming out. We try to stay very up to date on everything we serve, try to reflect the community and what we do, and also what's going on across the rest of the world, and bring new flavors to our students. What I really love about campus is the sense of community here. It's almost like working in a very small town within a small town, and everybody's very close-knit. There's great communication. There's lots of great opportunities for everybody, and I think this is a great, safe place to be.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Last but not least, the Director of University Residences, Leonard Jones. Please tell us what you remember most about when you arrived at Wester's campus, and what your favorite part about working for housing is.
Thank you, Francis. I'm Leonard Jones, the Director of University Residences here at Western. What I remember most was that the Pacific Northwest wasn't as cold as I thought. Prior to coming here, I was at a university in Long Island, New York, and I just had this vision in my mind. I think it was February when I came, that it was dark, it's cold, but not as cold as I thought, and that was surprising. I think I've been most impressed with the, I would say, sustainability, environmentalism. And for me, every time I see a deer on campus, I kind of internally freak out, you know, that back east, let's say, deer are not as free to roam as they do here. So that the nature and the environment stood out for me. What I like about working here, you know, among many things, I particularly would focus on the student leaders over the years, you know, presidents of hall councils or presidents of our Residence Hall Association, our National Residence Hall Honorary. I really love seeing them grow and develop and leave us and become leaders on campuses as well. So that's been pleasant to see over the years.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all our panelists. Feel free for everyone watching to send in more questions in the chat. But to start off, our first question will be going to Steve Wadsworth. So the question is, will I be able to dine in? And if so, what will seating in the dining halls look like?
Well, you know, that's a great question. You know, our dining rooms will have a significantly reduced capacity, you know, in the fall term. However, we'll be allowing indoor dining as well as takeout for students residing on campus, and we'll have some folks on voluntary meal plans. All tables right now will be singles due to the governor's mandate. However, students that are coming to campus with their parents as part of their family during move-in will be allowed, you know, in to dine in with them should they choose to do so.
Great, thank you. Next up is Kurt. So someone asked, if campus closes, will I be refunded?
So if I'm understanding the question correctly, if the governor announces another closure, much like we had, or reduced operations and modified operations in last spring quarter, will you be refunded for your stay? We'll charge you, assuming it's during the quarter, we'll charge you for the days that you stayed with us on a prorated basis for your room and your meal plan. And then if you've paid for the full term, you would be refunded for the remaining days left in the quarter.
Great, thank you. The next question will be going to Karen. So someone said, I chose to defer my housing to winter quarter. How will the application for housing look in the winter?
Sure. We have already planned on offering housing to all students who were incoming and deferred to winter quarter to see how COVID is doing at that time. And so we will reach out and send an email and let folks know that we've got already an application on file for them, but they have no obligation to accept at that time. They can sort of see how things are going and let us know if they're ready to come or if they'd like to wait and defer again till spring. So we already know who you are, and we will make sure we reach out.
Awesome. Vicki, this question will be going to you. What does campus life look like in the fall?
Yeah, so campus life will look a little different than a typical year, but still have the same goals to get students connected, connected to campus, connected to each other. So campus life will look like a mix of in-person and virtual events. While we're in phase 2, we're really limited making sure that we have small groups of 5 or less. So our programming in the residence halls will consist of campus tours, game nights, different outdoor recreation activities. We're partnering with some of our colleagues across campus for fitness classes, recreation sports, things like that, to get students connected and involved in a physically distant and social but safe way. So think about those things. When we move into different phases, we'll be able to open that up a little bit more. So we're hoping is, restrictions ease a little bit. We have things planned like outdoor movie nights, trips to Lakewood, which is our outdoor recreation area, and other programs to really get students connected. There's also a ton of options to connect virtually as well. So some of our large programs, even campus programs like Convocation, where we welcome new students, Paint Bellingham Blue, which is a strong tradition on campus to really welcome students to campus the first week. All of those events are still taking place, just virtually. So we'll encourage you to attend those and connect that way. Your resident director, who's a live-in professional staff member, they live and work in the building. They'll be connecting with you before move-in to talk about some of those opportunities as well. And then after you arrive, your resident advisor will be there talking with you about how to connect, how to engage socially. There's over 200 clubs and organizations on campus. All of those are still happening, still exist, just a lot more in a virtual way. So again, mix of in-person and virtual, and as we move through the phases and get into phase 3, we'll be able to open up that a little bit more.
Great, thank you so much. Next up will be Steve Erbe. So how do the campus dietitians work?
Yeah, to reach out to the dietitian, first email myself, and we can set up an appointment where we can meet in person or even just by email. If you'd rather send an email and just kind of list some concerns that you have. I prefer to work one-on-one with students that have dietary concerns and with the dietitian as well. And we find a plan that works for you. So we just kind of figure out what our goal is at first, and then we find a solution through there.
Awesome. And the next question will be going to Leonard. So how will housing keep residents safe?
Thanks, Francis. That's a very good question. And that's what we have continued to work on with our colleagues on campus throughout the summer. Ever since COVID, some of us have worked 6 months and more in terms of how do we keep students safe. We stay up to speed on the latest public health informed information that we receive. We work with our campus student health center. We dialogue regularly with other schools and colleges in our state and beyond in terms of learning some lessons from them as well. So for students and for families that are leaving their students here, as well as for our staff. Safety is the most important thing that we can do. In addition to the kind of consultative approach that I mentioned, we're also, reviewing procedures about social distancing, how to achieve that residentially, wearing the mask, washing of hands, um, cleaning emphasis in terms of disinfecting and touch points, access, either going through certain doors, going out of certain doors, so we are in essence putting the housing and dining system under a microscope, and anywhere where we can cut down interaction that's not within the social distance 6 feet or fewer, then we are looking for ways to eliminate that as well.
Great, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
For the next question, we'll be going to Karen. So what are the necessary things to bring to campus?
Well, it's a long list. So we have a website that gives you a suggestion of things to bring, things you might not think to bring, or perhaps things that you have at home, but a little bit of a change would be better, like the kind of bed lamp you might want to use to read with. So I recommend going to our website, and it is so full of great information that you wouldn't remember, and it's got a list and you can check things off. And it's also got a newer set of items on it too, which is sort of, don't forget to bring a couple of masks and bring this. And so maybe a couple more warm jackets, because we're going to be doing more warm things outside. And so I think it kind of covers the breadth of things, from things for your bathroom, ways to work with a suite bathroom or a hallway bathroom, things for outdoors, things for COVID. And so it kind of covers the gamut.
Great, thank you. So when I was watching, one thing that I wish I knew before moving in was to bring a mattress topper. I feel like bedding is kind of underestimated because it makes a world of difference when you have a mattress topper. So that's one suggestion I have. But next up will be Vicki. So besides the RAs, will there be staff 24/7 at all the dorms?
Yes, we have different layers or different levels of staff. So we have our resident directors who I just spoke about a little bit earlier, but they are professional staff members. So they work for us full time. They're master's level. So a lot of them have got their master's degrees in higher education administration and work in student affairs, and that's their career path. So they're people who are really passionate about serving students and who are really student-centered and focused on how we support students to graduate, to be successful here at Western, and also provide a very positive living experience. So they live and work in the building, so they all have apartments in your community, so you'll see them in and out, walking their dogs, saying hello. Great people. We have a really strong staff, so I encourage you to get to know those folks. They advise our hall councils. They're around the communities. Their office usually is in the main area of each community, so their office is accessible, so you should see them. So we definitely encourage you to stop in, say hi, ask questions. They're a great resource to have on campus. And then we do have resident advisors as well, our student staff who are there 24/7 as well, live and work in the buildings in addition to our resident directors. So there's somebody available all the time, 24/7, 365 days. We have staff who are on call, ready to answer questions, respond to any emergencies, and provide that support. So most definitely.
Awesome. The next question will be going to Kurt. So when will we be billed for first quarter room and board?
We put bills on the system after rooms have been assigned. So my colleague Karen can advise on where we are with the room assignments, but we're doing it a little bit later this year, I think, but stay tuned. I know when you register for classes, charges come on your account once you registered for those, and then we're next as you get your room assignment. And just a reminder that those payments are due when classes begin, which I believe is September 23rd. And financial aid applies on or around that date of the 23rd. So things all kind of come together and resolve what's on the student account once all the charges are there. So Karen, just kind of a handoff to you. We're getting ready soon to do room assignments, right?
Well, actually, room selection has already occurred, and students have been picking their own rooms, and so that is essentially done. And there's always a few students who don't, and then we will assign them. So, yep, at the very tail end, we do that. And then we will usually put the bills onto students' accounts at the same time that their addresses get put into the system so they can mail things. And so, and people like to see ahead of time how much, what their amounts are going to be. So it should be happening next week. And then after that, students have, their 3-4 weeks to get things paid.
Thanks, Karen.
And just as a reminder, everybody is paying the double room rate this year. So it's a pretty simple formula to look and see what you're going to owe.
Awesome. And then also, Karen, what should students do if they missed room selection?
You know what, they are welcome to visit room selection still if they want to, and all they need to do is reach out to us by email or phone, and we can give them a room selection time, and they are welcome to go in and pick right up through Friday. We'll Friday afternoon, and then after that we can help somebody on an individual basis. So they should just get in touch with us. We're all here and we'd love to help.
Great, thank you. We'll be going to Vicki for the next question. So do you have any recommendations on places that will do COVID-19 testing for college before arriving to move in?
Yes, so I think it just depends on the county that you're in. So what you want to do is look up your local health department. Every county has a health department website, so you want to look on there for COVID-19 testing. We have heard questions from some students that testing isn't occurring in their local area, so another option is to look at the next county over. So a county within driving distance, look at their website as well to see what testing is happening in that county, and that's been helpful. Other options are, I think we're learning we're really lucky in Whatcom County, and testing is really easy to get here in Bellingham. So that's another option as well. If you want to come early, our health center can test you here on campus. They're starting to test on our first move-in day, which is September 17th. So you're welcome to come a few days early and move in some of our later move-in days. Get tested, and you can always stay in a local hotel for a couple days. Our health center gets those results back within 24 to 48 hours. So once they get those negative results back and you're cleared, you're welcome to move in. If that's a barrier for you and you can't make those things work, if your county is not testing, you can't pay for a hotel, or you don't want to come early, and that's a challenge, then please just reach out to us. Let us know, and we'll work with you individually and come up with a plan for your specific needs and make sure that we get you moved in and taken care of. So please don't, if that is a barrier, please reach out because we can help you with those things. So definitely encourage you to email us, call us, and we'll work through that with you.
And as a follow-up question, is it okay if the test is 8 days before arrival and not 7 days?
It is not. So you want to be within that 7-day window. So the reason for that is it has to be as close to move in as possible, just to make sure everybody moving in is as healthy and safe as possible to keep our community healthy and safe. So our health center is going to be checking those results. And if it's 8 days before your move-in date, that's going to delay your move-in. So you want to make sure you get tested anytime before your move-in day, but within no more than 7 days before the date that you're going to arrive.
Great, thank you. Next up is Kurt. So is there indoor bike parking?
Is there indoor bike parking? Some of the residences have sheltered parking. I can't recall which ones. For example, Edens Hall and Buchanan Towers. The others may have partially covered, and of course there's outdoor parking as well.
Thank you. Next up is Steve Erbe. So will WW Dining offer to-go meal options?
Yes, so we have two options. You can dine in and you can also take out. And you can visit www.campusdish.com, take a look at some of those menus ahead of time before you come in so you can decide what you want to get. But you'll be given a to-go container that will fill up here for you, and then you're able to take that out.
Great, thank you. Next up is the other Steve, Steve Wadsworth. So will I be required to wear a mask in the dining location?
Yes, you will be required to wear a mask when you enter the dining, any of our dining locations, while you're in line and while you are making your selections, and any time you are not seated. We want to do that. Of course, the safety of all of our students and staff is of the utmost importance and is at the forefront for all of us. So yes, masks are required. And I believe there was a question regarding social distancing also, and I'd be happy to address that. We are going to have informational signage on the floor markers. We'll have plexiglass barriers between our service personnel and students, as well as informational signage throughout the dining halls.
Thank you. The next question will be going to Vicki. So will elevators in residence halls be in use during this pandemic?
Yes, elevators will be in use. We are allowing access just for one person to use the elevator at a time. So we just ask that one person loads the elevator. And then you are able, if you live in the same suite or you live in the same apartment, you are able to ride the elevator with two people as long as you live in the same suite or apartment, since you're already in close contact and living with each other, as long as you both agree to that. But elevators are fully operational, definitely in use.
Awesome. Leonard, this question is going to go to you. So what facilities will be open to the students who are living on campus? For example, the rec center, the library, and more.
Well, I know the library is planning on being closed, and each of those department areas, one can go to their website and see what their hours of operation. But specifically, I know that the library is planning on being closed. I believe the rec center also is planning on being closed to the building, but as Vicki mentioned earlier, we are partnering with the rec center for some outdoor and creative programming and activities as well.
Thank you. For the next question, we'll be going to Kurt. So will housing rates be the same? Are there resources to accommodate for students that are struggling to pay for resources that students can't use?
Yeah, two parts of that question. In terms of if you're having difficulty in making payments, it really is an opportunity to have some further conversations with the campus financial aid offices. You look at various forms of loans, grants, scholarships, etc. We do one-on-one conversations with you when you call my office. We can talk with you about where those tight spots might be, and it might be looking at perhaps your meal plan as an example. The size of that plan. But our financial aid team is on campus is well versed in these kind of issues. In terms of the reducing costs based on services, we have not reduced the cost of housing for the broad extent of services, except for the decision, and it's a fairly large decision, of not charging more than the double room rate. So you'll have your own room on campus, and you'll be paying the double room rate. The university as a whole, regarding the cost of your total education, has reduced fees about 11–12%, recognizing that some of the services, like Leonard mentioned in the rec center, aren't going to be available in the same manner as they might have been in a typical quarter.
Thank you. The next question will be going to Vicki. So someone said, I'm a current student living in Burnham Wood right now. I will still be in the same room for fall 2020, so I do not need to participate to move in. Do I still need to get tested?
Question. If you're currently living with us, you do not have to get tested right now. We will be in touch with you once the academic year starts in collaboration with the Student Health Center. All students will be tested periodically throughout the academic year, specifically for fall quarter is what we're focusing on now. So you'll be tested like periodically, so every 2 to 3 weeks. We're still figuring out logistics on that, but you don't need to get tested at this time. You can wait until the academic year starts and we'll be in touch about that.
Next up is Steve Erbe. So will food services be available when we move in?
Yes, they will. So we'll have Fairhaven Commons opening first. So that's a good way to stop by and take a look at how everything is going to be set up. And then afterwards, Viking Commons will be opening on the north side of campus if you're that direction.
Awesome, thank you. Next up is Kurt. So should we have already received a bill on student account for housing?
No, you would not have received one yet. We'll put those bills on the student account once all of our room assignments are taken care of, and that will be in about a week or so. You should see room and meal charges on your student account.
Thank you. We'll be going to Vicki for the next question. So will there be any people to help bring in larger items into the dorm room? So not including the 1 to 2 people we can bring.
So I'm assuming this question is probably coming from maybe somebody familiar with our move-in experience. Our typical move-in experience, we have a lot of volunteers out helping to unload cars into moving bins and helping students bring their belongings up to rooms. We don't have that available this year because of COVID-19, so we're unable to help move belongings. So you want to bring things with you that you are able to move on your own or with the visitors and guests that you're bringing with you to help you move in. But we won't have staff or students or volunteers to help move in those belongings. We will have move-in bins available that are cleaned and sanitized after each use. So you are able to move or move your things in with those, which might be helpful for some of those larger items. So something to keep in mind there.
Francis, this is Leonard, and Vicki, perhaps you might want to talk about maybe moving, contracting with someone to move those larger items into rooms earlier.
Sure. So one program that we started this year, which is a great benefit, is it's basically a ship to home, from home to campus program. So you are able, all this information is on our website, but you are able to ship your things to campus before you arrive, and all the information on how to sign up for that program and how to do that is on our website. But you can ship your things to campus. We'll store it for you in our mail services building. And then a few days before you arrive, our staff will deliver it to your room for you. So that's another great option to avoid any kind of traffic on campus or just moving all of your things in on your own. There's a $100 fee for that program to pay for the staffing to move your belongings into your room. But yes, a great option there. If you want to avoid moving in general, you can show up and all of your things will be in your room ready to go, ready to unpack when you move in.
Great, thank you. And for just to re-clarify, so the program is called Ship My Room to Western, and it could be found at housing.wwu.edu/move-in for all of those watching. So for the next question, we'll be going to Kurt. So are there going to be community printers for students in the dorms, or if we want to use one, must we bring our own?
There will be community printers in the buildings that we have open for residency. I believe every residential community has computer PCs, computers and printers there. And those can be used 24/7 if you're in that building. And of course, the university has its own computer labs as well.
Awesome, thank you. So next is Steve Wadsworth. So how do we pay for our meal plan?
There's a number of different ways you can pay. I mean, normally when you sign up for your housing contract, you'll choose a meal plan, and that meal plan will be billed to your student account.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the next question, this will be going to Vicki. So are students who are living off campus allowed to come onto campus?
Yeah, so campus is open, so anybody's allowed to come on campus, take a walk, enter the buildings. For residence halls and university residences specifically, you are able to. If you know somebody who lives in a residential building, because all of our doors are locked, all the time, 24/7 for safety in the building, so you're not able to access the buildings. However, if you know somebody in a residence hall and you want to come visit, we encourage you to do that by taking a walk outside, hanging out in some of the public spaces on campus, or if you do want to enter the building, your guests can let you in. We are not allowing visitors up into the residential spaces off campus, so any visitors have to live within the residential building. So if you're off campus and you come on, you can enter, but we ask that you stay in the main lounge areas, the main lobby areas on the first floor and interact there. You can hang out there and not enter, the other upper floors of the community areas of the building, just for health and safety reasons there. And then another piece of that is all of our lounges have maximum occupancies. So everybody has to be physically distant, 6 feet apart. We'll have less furniture in some of our lounges to make sure that we can have people physically distant and make sure that we're not exceeding those capacities. So there's not a lot of people in one lounge at one time. So things to know, but you are able to come in the building, interact, but we also encourage you, especially when the weather's nice, to do those outside as well for a walk or a meal. We're doing a lot of floor dinners and things like that where people go to the dining hall, for example, get their meals to go, and then eat outside together in a physically distant way. It's a great way to do that in a healthy and safe way. So there's options there, but access to the residence hall will be more limited this year.
And then just to clarify, are students allowed to bring other students who live in the same dorm as them in their own dorm room?
Yes. So if a student lives in the same building, you're able to have them in your room, interact around the building, either in lounges or in your particular residential space. That's totally fine.
Great, thank you. So the next question will be going to Karen. So is it too late to opt out of living on campus? Would I be able to get a housing deposit refund if I did so?
Yeah, actually, there is still time. We have a cancel date of the 4th, September 4th, for full refund of your $200 deposit. And so most students have registered for classes now. They have a pretty good sense of what their fall wants to look like for them. And so we've got a really easy way to cancel by going to our website and going to the My Housing portal. And there is a fall housing status change form that is really simple to use. And you just say, I've changed my mind. I don't want to come after all for fall. And you can cancel, and we'll automatically code you as somebody who we're deferring to winter quarter. And we'll put you in that group we talked about earlier, where we'll check back in with everybody and say, okay, it's November now, and we're checking back in. So there's still plenty of time to do that if somebody wants to.
Awesome, thank you. For the next question, we'll be going to Steve Wadsworth. When will our meal plan take action? If we move in and classes start the 23rd, will we be fed before then, or can we feed before then?
We're currently working with university residences to open the dining halls early as students move in beginning Thursday. That Thursday, we'll have Fairhaven open, and as Steve Erbe mentioned, by Saturday, we will probably have the Viking Commons open for resident students living on campus. And we're working out some of the details, but yes, we will be open to feed the students living here on campus.
Awesome. Next up, we have Leonard. So will faculty be creating any special opportunities for students to connect on campus? It seems as if Leonard's Wi-Fi may be a bit touchy, so we'll be moving on to the next question. So Steve, Erbe, are dining halls still all you can eat?
Yes, they are. So we're offering an all-you-care-to-eat atmosphere for those dining in with us. All that we ask is that as soon as you're done with your first helping, that you put your mask back on before you get back into the line in the servery. For those that are opting to dine out, you will be given to-go containers. Your main jade-colored to-go container, you can fit as much as you possibly can in there, but then you'll also be able to take out one salad container, a soup container, and beverages as well.
Great, thank you. And then Leonard, thanks for joining us again. So we did have a question for you. So will faculty be curating any special opportunities to connect with students on campus? Okay, seems like his Wi-Fi is still a bit touchy. So then we'll be going to Kurt for the next question. So if we have a shared bathroom, who will clean the bathroom?
Boy, I'm not sure what our cleaning protocol is there with the shared bathrooms in terms of frequency and so on. We certainly have a campus custodial team that will be escalating the amount of cleaning opportunities. I don't recall the frequency. Vicki, another handoff there. Do you recall what that is?
Yeah, I can help with that. So it's 3 times a day. The community bathrooms will be cleaned, and it'll be throughout the day. One's being in the evening hours. So definitely very consistent cleaning throughout each day, including weekends as well.
Thanks, Vicki.
Also, Vicki, so what will that look like for suite style bathrooms like Fairhaven?
Oh, good question. So suite style bathrooms, our custodial staff are still cleaning suite style bathrooms, but once a month. So the onus is definitely more on the student for any suite style or apartment style bathroom. So when you move in, we'll give you a rooming agreement in your first floor meeting, and you definitely want to fill that out with your suite mate or whoever you're sharing your suite or your apartment with. Just to talk about a cleaning schedule to make sure that that's done, and we'll have supplies that you can use to clean your bathroom. But onus is more on the student, but once a month our staff will come in and clean all suite and apartment bathrooms as well.
Awesome, thank you. And then the next question will be going to Karen. So are all incoming students guaranteed housing, and is there a way to get that by Friday, which is tomorrow, so we are able to make plans for moving day?
Yes, all incoming students are guaranteed housing, and we still have some rooms, so we're happy to have anybody who's making a late decision. They can email me or they can call us, and we will find a spot for them.
Awesome, thank you. And then Leonard, are you there?
I'm almost afraid to say yes, Francis. Every time I do, I cut off, and you and the rest of the audience miss a dynamic answer.
Oh no, okay, well, here's the question again. So will faculty be creating any special opportunities to connect with students on campus?
Yes, there are certain programs that we work with prior to opening, honors in particular, and a few others that are in consistent communication with their students. I know that they are planning some things, but outside of that, I am unaware of any other faculty connection in that manner.
Awesome, thank you. The next question will be going to Vicki. So someone said, I haven't received a time slot for room selection. How does this process work?
Great question. So we just launched our move-in application this year. It gives lots of information about moving in, COVID-19 policies and procedures, and just all you need to know about moving in. So where to park, what to bring, all those kinds of things, or information is in there as well. So to sign up for a move-in time, you access that move-in application. So check your email, and it will have the link in there to that move-in application. You can log in, sign in, and then from there, you'll review some of that information I was just speaking about. We ask that you review our COVID-19 policies and procedures. So it's things like our policy on face coverings, our guest policy, operations around isolation and quarantine space that we have on campus, campus resources, things like that. They'll ask you to take a quiz. You take that quiz, and then at that point, it'll allow you to sign up for a move-in time. And it's really up to you, kind of which day you want to move in, depending on your building. And all of those move-in times are to promote physical distancing. So we're spreading out students. So there's not a lot of students moving in each hour on campus. So traffic will be light. It should be an easy move-in once you get to your building. There won't be a lot of other students moving in at that same time. So you want to log into the application, complete the quiz. The whole process only takes about 10 minutes or so. So it's pretty quick. So after you complete that quiz, it'll take you to that next page to sign up for a move-in time.
Awesome, thank you. So the next question will be going to Steve Erbe. So how is dine-in determined? First come, first served, stay as long as you are eating. Do you lose the table if you get up for second?
No, you won't lose your table. We're going to have a system where we'll know when our tables have been cleaned or not. But to kind of jump back a little bit, we'll be monitoring the doors. We'll have someone counting how many guests are coming in and out, and we've determined what our capacity is. So we'll have eyes on that all the time as far as who's coming in and who's going. You may be asked to wait a little bit if you're opting for dine-in. We're hoping that works pretty smoothly and quickly. But yes, it'll be just like walking into a store that has capacity limits. We'll keep an eye on it right at that front door and let you know when you can enter.
Yeah, and this is Steve Wadsworth. I'd just like to jump in for a moment also. We are prepared to launch a reservation system if needed. We have that ready to roll out. Again, we want to make sure that those students that want to dine in are able to do though, and then they would be able to schedule time. So we're waiting to see what the need for that is going to be before we launch that.
Awesome, thank you. So the next question will be towards Leonard. So in previous years, there have been events like Dessert with the Directors that allowed students to directly interact with a lot of you. Are there plans to hold more events similar to that once the year starts, especially with COVID potentially generating a lot more questions?
Yes, Dessert with the Director and other events that get a lot of us administrators out, I think is one of the highlights of the year for us, and that happens regularly. It is very important, and we all value students and student voice. And the only way for us to know what students think is to actually meet with them in the communities in which they live. But we have to do that virtually now because of COVID. So COVID changes maybe the way we do that, not if we do that. So certainly we will continue to do that in a socially distant, appropriate manner as well. But yes, we will still commit to that outreach to hear student voice. And hopefully doing that, Francis, my Comcast won't, kind of bite the dust and I have to keep starting up again.
Great, thank you. For the next question, we'll be going to Kurt. So will our dorm room be completely disinfected before we move in?
All the rooms are being inspected prior to move-in. So during the summer, there's been repair work on some of the spaces if it's needed. Then the custodial team for the campus is going through each room and making sure it's thoroughly cleaned and disinfected and inspected so that we can make sure that every room that's being occupied is in the right shape.
Great. And for the next question, we'll be going to Steve Wadsworth. So are the to-go containers reusable / compostable?
Yes, they are reusable and compostable. We've got a number of the green reusable containers here on campus. We have ordered enough for each student to have one. What will happen as they come into the dining hall, if they request a to-go meal, they'll receive a green card. They will take it up to the server in the dining hall. The server will fill their to-go container for them. There'll be somebody, for the soup, serving soup and the other items. When they the request is, they bring that reusable to-go container back when they return rinsed. They will then receive, they'll deposit it in an area by the cashier station when you enter. They'll then receive another green card should they choose to select another to-go meal.
Awesome, thank you so much. So Vicki, there's quite a lot of testing questions with COVID. So is it okay if we dive into these now?
Sure, definitely.
Awesome. So the first one is, where on campus will this COVID testing be happening during move-in? Can you explain that process?
Yeah, great question. We're going to make it as simple and as easy as possible. So when you move in, you'll have all this information in that move-in application that I was referring to. So you want to check back for that a couple days before you're moving. It'll tell you exactly how to get to campus, which rows to turn on, where to park. You'll also see a lot of signage around directing you where to go, where to enter. So there's going to be 2 centralized check-in locations. There's going to be one on North Campus, one on South Campus. So depending on where your building is in those regions, you'll go to one of those centralized check-in locations, and we'll tell you which one you should be going to. So once you drive in to that check-in location, you're going to see 2 tents. One tent, when you first drive up, you can stay in your car. It's really a contactless or very limited contact check-in. So you stay in your vehicle. When you come in, you'll be greeted by one of our student volunteers welcoming you to campus, letting you know that the first tent that you're going to get to is COVID-19 testing. So our student health center is going to be there. They have a student portal where your health portal is housed. So they're going to have you pull that up on your phone, and we'll give you instructions on how to do that. They're going to scan a barcode that's going to be on your phone. If you don't have a smartphone, that's okay. They can look you up in their system as well, so don't worry about that. So when you get to that tent, they're going to do a quick swab. They said it's about less than 30 seconds, so very quick. They're going to complete that test, scan the barcode on your phone, and send that test to Northwest Labs to get that verified and get the results. So at that point, you're done with testing. You're going to drive up to the next tent, and you're going to check in with one of our university residences staff members, get your keys, and then exit that check-in area to your building where you can move in from there. So it's going to be a really quick, easy process. You can stay right in your vehicle, answer any questions. We'll answer any questions that you have, and you should be good to go at that point. So very quick, easy process for testing.
And then after you get tested on move-in day, do you have to quarantine in your room until you get your result?
No, so that is one of the reasons we are really asking students to get tested before they come to campus and do that test pre-move-in. So you don't have to quarantine in your room, so you can interact, walk around, go to the dining hall, connect with other students right from day one. So you don't have to quarantine in your room. Our Student Health Center gets those results back fairly quickly within 24 to 48 hours. So we'll let you know if something changes and you do receive a positive test, but you do not have to quarantine in your room as long as you don't have any symptoms and you have that pre-move-in test and then you get tested at move-in. You're welcome to interact and engage in the community.
Awesome. And then the last testing question for now. So do the 2 guests helping me with move-in have to be tested beforehand or only when we arrive?
Good question. So we are not testing any visitors. So any visitors that you have coming to campus with you to help you move in, they do not need to get tested before move-in, and we will not test visitors on move-in day. We're only testing students who are moving in on move-in day. So no need to worry about that. Your visitors do need to fill out a health survey. We'll be sending that out more closer to move-in, a few days before our move-in experience starts. We'll be sending that via email. So we ask that any visitors coming to campus fill out that survey. It's pretty quick, just asking about symptoms, any symptoms anybody's experiencing of COVID-19. And we do ask if anybody is experiencing symptoms that they do not come to campus. But as long as your visitors are feeling good, feeling healthy, they're welcome to come with you to help you move in.
Great. Thank you so much for all that information. Moving on to the next question, which will be for Karen. So will there be multiple students in one room?
This year, no. We are 1 student to a room. One thing that is true is that the furniture will stay. So if you're in a double room and there are 2 beds there, they'll stay there even though you live there alone. So you can stretch out a little bit. We're trying to follow our best guidelines on safety, and 1 to a room was the recommendation to us. So that's why we're going to do it that way this year. Now, if COVID restrictions change and the vaccine is out and everything is wonderful for winter quarter, we may go back to our more normal occupancy per room. But if restrictions stay as they are now, we will stay with 1 to a room.
Awesome. Thank you. So for the next question, this will be going to Kurt. So what is your recommendations on bringing or buying a safe or a fireproof lockbox?
It's, I'm not sure it's as necessary perhaps as it might have been with 2 people per room. If you're concerned about certain valuables, you will be the only person in the room. And the custodial staff and others won't be entering you in your room unless you there's a maintenance need and you have a specific maintenance need and so on. And there shouldn't be any concerns there. So I'm not sure it's necessary to do that. I don't recall, and maybe some of those who are more familiar with the furniture might be aware if any of the furniture we're buying now in the rooms has certain brands have a way you can lock a drawer. For example, you bring your own lock and you can put a drawer, a lock in there. I don't know if we have any of those, but for a separate fire safe or lock box, we're not, you're certainly allowed to do that. We're not expecting you or requiring to do that for these rooms.
Great, thank you. For the next question, we'll be going back to Karen. So can our family return to help set up our rooms after the drop-off time period?
I think the goal is to have the families coming in during that hour when it's their time to be there and check in. But there is a way to have a family member guest come back, and it's by special request with the resident director. So my recommendation would be, and Vicki may want to jump on board as well, is to do it during that time frame so that we have a nice, safe, sort of closed environment for the students that are there, and we don't have a lot of guests coming and going. But Vicki may have a different suggestion.
No, I think Karen's right on with that. So you are able to have your family help you move in, or family members. That's really important to us, having family members here for the move-in experience, especially parents, friends, loved ones. That's just a part of the experience when you're first coming to college, especially for first-year students. So we will not be kicking you out. That is not our goal at all. So you're welcome to come in. We do allow 30 minutes for unloading. We ask that you try to unload within that 30 minutes, but once you're in the room, you're able to stay. We're not allowing any overnight guests, so you're able to stay for that day. Help set up the room, make sure the student feels comfortable, that son, daughter, child, student is able to move in, feel good, have your help in doing that, and then leave at that point. So you are welcome to stay past that 30-minute window. We just ask that you don't stay overnight in the space.
Francis, I might jump back on board on that and say a lot of families after the setup, and it doesn't usually take too long to set up a room, they then go to one of our great restaurants in Bellingham. We've got great social distance seating in a lot of the restaurants, and it's kind of a nice time to hang out with your family before they take off for home. So that can be a nice way to spend a little extra time as well.
And Francis, I'll add a little bit here as well, because I think we're making some assumptions. Vicki, we don't assist the family if the parent and the student's taste and decoration differs, do we?
No.
Okay.
That we cannot help with as much.
Awesome, thank you. So the next question will be going to you, Leonard. So will on-campus student jobs be offered?
As far as I know, yes. Probably at a reduced capacity, depending on what the campus department is open. But I know in the case of housing, we are in a position of needing to hire students. I believe the dining operations as well is in the business of hiring students as well, so as far as I know, yeah. Come on, students. Is that right, Wadsworth? Am I saying that right?
That is right. We do employ a great number of students in dining services, and we can always use the extra help. Our schedules we try to really create flexible schedules for students. So knowing that they're here to learn first and foremost, many of them want to work and have to work. So we want to provide that opportunity for them.
Let me jump in there a little bit. Sorry, Francis. The Student Employment Office on campus, which is administered by the Student Financial Aid Office, oversees the student employment listings and all. And so even in the COVID context in this environment, while a number of jobs that are customer facing are reduced or removed, there are other behind the scenes positions as well. And so do take a look at that as you look at your financial package. For many students, that's an important part. And it's good job experience and life experience as well. So good idea to get on the student employment site now and start looking if working on campus is of interest. And I would recommend considering that, because I think it does afford an appropriate combination of study and learning and play and work for the campus experience.
Awesome, thank you. And Vicki, did you have anything to add as well?
Yeah, just one last piece. Our housing department is actually hiring right now for a housing safety assistant position. It's a new position we have that will work in collaboration with our resident advisor staff, but also have a unique job around safety and security around campus and our residence hall. So encourage you to check that out on the student employment website as well. The application's due tomorrow, so you have to act quickly, but that is open and we are still looking for applicants.
Awesome, thank you. And as a fellow student employee, I highly recommend working on campus, mostly because they work with your hours and your student schedule. So I just wanted to plug that in there. So the next question will be going to Kurt. So I'm going to be living in Fairhaven double room. Since there are 2 beds in the room, can I remove one of them?
No, even though there's 1 student per room, we're asking that students keep all of the furniture in the room. We have no ability to store it. or no, we don't have the space to store it. And we're not sure of what the situation will be for winter and spring. And if we're back to normal operations, then we would need that furniture there. So please leave all of the items that are in the room when you moved in there when you arrive.
However, don't forget you can arrange your furniture. You can loft and get some bed parts. So when you get here, if you want everything over in one corner or one to be like a couch, you can totally work with your room. We can help you figure that out.
Indeed.
Yeah, echoing
Thanks,
off of
Karen.
that, I highly recommend students lofting their beds too, because that gives you a lot of under storage space. I know some of my friends actually had like TVs and sofas under their beds, so kind of a little media center. So another, like, I guess, dorm hack for all of you watching. But Vicki, so we also have a few more testing questions as well. So someone sent in a question saying, are MDs asking for some sort of documentation from WW about the need for testing and timing? Then they will give our student a COVID test. Where can I find that?
Yeah, so I would say it's on our website. So if you can refer them to our website, but if they need other documentation as well, our department just sent out a newsletter earlier this week and last week as well. So you can check out that newsletter, and that information will be in there as well about requirements for testing. So I would imagine that that's probably sufficient because it's official communication from the university, but just contact us if you need something additional from there, and we can definitely provide that to you.
Awesome. And then the next question is, what happens if you test 5 to 7 days before, but don't get the results before your move-in day?
Yeah. So if you are in that window that those days before move-in, but you haven't gotten your results yet, you just want to contact us. We'll probably be in contact with you too, but if you want to be proactive, definitely reach out. We can do a couple things. We can reschedule your move-in day, especially if you're local within driving distance to Bellingham. We're being really flexible with move-in times and move-in days, so we can always have you move in at a later move-in date. Or even after that Monday, we can accommodate you after that as well. The classes start on Wednesday. So there's options there. Also, if you need to come, if you're out of state or international student, or just have a unique circumstance where you have to come at a specific day, just contact us. There is some possibilities where we can have you move in, but there's some restrictions there. In terms of having to then stay in your room and not leave your room, but that's not our goal. Our hope is that as soon as you arrive, you're really able to engage in the full sense of the community. So if you don't get those test results back, just reach out to us, either at housing@wwu.edu or reslife at wwu.edu, and we can work with you to reschedule your move-in day.
Awesome. Thanks for being our COVID testing specialist, Vicki. But moving on, so this question is for Steve Erbe. So when are the dining halls the busiest?
That's a really hard question to answer right now, considering everything is going to look so different. But usually the first hour of breakfast is usually the slowest. It tends to pick up towards the tail end, kind of that 10 to 10:30 time frame. Kind of picks up for breakfast, then lunch. Noon is kind of a big marker for us. Noon and 12:30 tend to be pretty busy. And then dinner is kind of a wild card because everybody is back home. There aren't any more classes going on. So everybody kind of goes in waves, but you'll get the hang of it. That first couple weeks of being on campus, you'll be able to pinpoint exactly when a good time is to come in. Plus, also don't forget, takeout is still an option that you can opt into, and we'll look further into that reservation system as well. That will definitely free up some space in our dining halls.
And I would like to comment, this is Steve Wadsworth. We have revised our dining hours of operation really to meet the needs of the capacity for the dine-in and takeout. So breakfast will be Monday through Friday, 7 in the morning to 11. Lunch will run from 11 to 2:30. And then we will be closed from 2:30 to 4:45 so we can thoroughly clean the dining facilities. We will reopen at 4:45, excuse me, and we will be open for dinner until 7:30. And that's Monday through Friday. And then the weekends will be open for brunch and dinner. And I'm sorry I don't have those hours with me, but if you want to go to our website, www.campusdish.com, all of that will be posted along with all of our FAQs.
Great, thank you so much. For this question, we can go to Kurt and Vicki if you want to piggyback off this. But who do you contact for bed extensions for taller residents?
I can actually get that.
Thanks, Kim.
It is our facilities group. Terrence Simons, who was unable to be with us tonight. We have foot-long extensions that go on the end of our already extra long beds. And so you'd want to bring like, rather than a fitted bottom sheet, a flat sheet that would extend over that piece that's keeping those long legs in place. And we have about 10 of them. So we try to encourage you to be over 6'5". If you are over 6'5", you can have one. If we have some left and you're shorter than 6'5", we're happy to give you one once we've met the need of all those real long legged folks.
Awesome, thank you. And for the folks watching right now, I just want to clarify that this year there will be no bed parts to loft or bunk. So feel free to go to the housing website to learn more about moving in and all of that in that process. So for the next question, we'll be going to Vicki. So what are the rules for using the dorm bathroom?
Yeah, so a lot of it depends on where you're living. A lot of our buildings have suites and apartments where you share a bathroom with usually only one other person this year. So no restrictions on that. That bathroom is in your room, in your suite to be shared. So we just ask that you communicate with your suite mate or your apartment mate around cleanliness and those types of things, but no restrictions on use at all. Our community bathrooms will work a little different, so no restrictions there. But we do have some guidelines for our community bathrooms, and you'll hear a lot about this when you move in from your resident advisor at your first floor meeting. They're going to show you around the building and share with you guidelines around the community bathroom. So what that looks like is in your first floor meeting, we'll talk with the students who live on your floor or within your wing, anybody who frequently uses that same community bathroom, and really talk about your class schedule and when you wake up, if you're a morning person, evening person, when you like to shower, things like that, because what we're trying to do is de-densify the bathroom as much as possible and have the least amount of people in there at one time. So your resident advisor will be making a schedule with your floor around what that looks like. It may not work perfectly all the time, but it's really a chunk of time or a block of time that you can use the community bathroom for showering and taking care of any needs that you have in the morning. But in terms of just community bathroom use, it's not restricted. You're able to go in there anytime, but we will talk with you about or create a schedule with your floor around what that looks like in terms of use. We are assigning showers and sinks. So the purpose of that is so you're using that same shower every day, you're using the same sink every day. There's going to be plexiglass in between the sinks as well. So you can expect that when you move in as well visually. So you'll hear much more in that first floor meeting, and it's really for your floor to come together and create that schedule. We're not going to tell you exactly when you need to shower and when you need to do your morning routine, for example, but you're going to create that as a community to make sure that all students' needs are met in that process.
And then what are some of the other policies in residence life?
Yeah, so I would say some of the big ones are around face coverings. So Similar to campus, students are required to wear a face covering in any public area. So that does include our residence halls as well. So when you're entering in any residential space, you want to have your face covering on. That includes lounges, community kitchens, the entrances of the building. You're not required to wear your face covering in your room. But anywhere outside of your room, we ask you do wear a face covering. Other big policy changes this year are our visitor policy. So we talked about this somewhat earlier, but we're allowing visitors in your residential building. So you're able to have students in your room or in public spaces that live in your own building. You can also have guests, like we said, in that first floor lobby or first floor lounge, as long as you're not exceeding the limits for the number of students or the number of people in that lobby or lounge, and that will be clearly marked, so you'll know what that number is. Other big, I would say, policy changes are if you do get tested for COVID-19 and you do have a positive test throughout the fall quarter, we're going to ask that you relocate to another space on campus for isolation to be worked with, monitored by our student health center to make sure that they're providing medical attention and that you're able to recover from COVID-19 in that space. So we'll provide assistance if you need it to move you over to a new residence hall on campus, or you can choose to go home or back to your permanent residence if that's an option for you as well. But you are able to stay on campus. And if you've been in contact with somebody who has tested positive, then we'll also relocate you to another residence hall on campus to a quarantine space. And that's to monitor any symptoms that you have. Hopefully not, but if you do have any symptoms, then we'll make sure that that's taken care of by or monitored by our student health center to give you some medical attention and advice with that as well. So those are the big policy changes with COVID-19. And you'll definitely hear much more about those up and coming in our newsletters and meetings up and coming with your resident director and resident advisor.
Great, thank you. And then Leonard, so how will quarantine or isolation be enforced if a resident doesn't want to move or to keep them in quarantine/isolation areas?
And Francis and whoever asked that question, it's a very good question. Because, you know, not only our campus, but campuses around the country, student compliance with public health informed information and policies that we're setting up is really going to be key. You know, it's just good practice to wear a mask, and we wear a mask because we care about each other. We wash our hands and we do the social distancing because we care about each other. That's the other very important piece about Western. We are a campus. Karen said it well. We are a family. Sometimes family don't agree. You know, there are some days, but we care about the health and we care about the well-being. And we have talked tonight about, you know, the policies and the standards and what we're putting in place. But a very important ingredient is working with students, and that's our intent as well. So that's what the director meetings are about and other things, is working with students in terms of how do we collectively create the best, safest, most comfortable environment that we all believe in. That we should have and that we are entitled to have as well. You know, so whether it's isolation, whether it's quarantine, whether it's, you know, Leonard's not really wearing his mask, I mean, those kinds of things, the students can count on a conversation. You know, it's not going to the principal's office, no one's in trouble, but we really want to emphasize that we have to all do this together. And that's the very good thing about working at Western and working with our particular students. They want to be a part of the solution. They do not want, you know, that. We all want the same thing. So with students and with families and with our campus colleagues, That's our intention. That's our purpose. That's how we're going to work. A heavy dose of education is what we're proposing in this environment.
Awesome, thank you. And just to clarify, so are the quarantine and isolation spaces different facilities?
Yes, they are. Most of them are located in one part of the campus, but our intent is to try to keep isolation and quarantine have different meanings. And isolation, my understanding, are those individuals that are recovering from, an illness. They will be housed with like kinds of people doing that. Those that need to be quarantined, they're not showing signs, but for 10 days or 14 days, as directed by medical professionals, we will work with them in a separate location as well. So that's a very important piece, that no, you can't stay in your regular room. You need to relocate for this purpose, and we will assist with meals and moving and all the logistics of how to make that happen as well. The student will not be on their own.
Great, thank you so much. So moving on to the next question, this will be going to Karen. So can students apply for an emotional support animal?
Absolutely. We have a great piece of information on our website, and it links you to the Disability Access Center. And they're the ones that work with the student on the need, the doctor's recommendation, the kind of animal. And then once the pieces are all put together by DAC, they let us know that a student has been approved. And then we have an online course that a student can take. And it's really kind of more just like a long web page that helps you know how to have an animal safely in your room and on campus, where it can go, where it cannot go, and how to be a good steward of your animal while you're here. And then you just can bring that animal with you to the room you're going to be in. We also have a pre-notification piece that we do for anybody that is in a suite, because maybe I'm bringing an emotional support cat, and it turns out you're my suite mate and you're terribly allergic to cats. So there are sometimes times where we'll have to relocate someone to a different suite, so they don't have an allergy and a cat allergy in the same room. And it usually works out pretty smooth. We have a 5-day window of getting things organized. So it works really well. And we have about 150 service animals on campus any given year, usually.
Awesome. For the next question, this will be going to Steve Wadsworth. So where can we find job listings for the dining hall?
You can go to our website at www.campusdish.com. We will also be advertising for those jobs in the dining halls as we open up in the fall.
Great. And then Kurt, this question will be going to you. So if I'm living off campus, how and when do I get my ID card, dining card, and more?
If you're living off campus or on campus, either way, the campus ID card office will be sending you information about how to send your picture in to get your ID card. The ID card at Western is called the Western card, and it's that one card that serves a number of areas, including dining services, including transportation, and including library, et cetera. And other areas when they're open, like the rec center and so on. And so that's the card that you would use to access the dining hall. If you live off campus, you're still able to purchase a dining plan. I know dining service would be glad to work with you and get you a plan. And you would then, once you buy that plan, that information is provided to the dining program. And so that Western card that you have just lets you in. You don't have to do anything special about that because it's all tied to your ID number, and the access systems know what which ID numbers belong to those programs.
Great, thank you. And then for the next question, we'll be going to Karen. So a student said, if I receive a parking permit on September 8th, will I be allowed to park in that specific lot on move-in day?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I might have to defer that to Vicki because she's been working really hard on the move-in piece, but typically once opening day, Sunday comes, you can, but I don't know about ahead of time. So I might pass the baton to Vicki.
Yeah, so this year, the answer is a little more complicated. It really depends. So most of the time, no. So we really try to clear out our parking lot to allow, like Karen was saying, to allow students to move in easily. So usually you're not able to park there until Sunday night, the end of that move-in weekend. So that will still be similar. It is possible, depending on which building you live in, just because we have fewer students living with us, it is possible that that could change. But you just want to ask on your move-in day, we'll let you know. But most of the time, we'll have you move to what we call a long-term parking lot for move-in, where you can keep your car safely, just not directly outside of your building or in the lot that you have that parking permit for. And then on that Sunday night of that last move-in weekend, or that move-in day on Sunday night, you're able to move your car over and then park there for the rest of the quarter.
Great, and then the next question is still with parking. So Karen or Vicki, if you want to take this one. So if you don't get a parking spot and you live on campus, where do you park? And then do you recommend bringing a car?
I'll go first, Vicki. I do not recommend bringing a car. The bus system is awesome. A bike can be wonderful, but campus is really walkable, and things are very nearby. But if one does bring a car, usually the parking, the closer one gets to the building they're in, it's done by credit load. So sometimes freshmen really, their lot is so far away anyhow that they decide, well, maybe I won't bring a car this quarter. And it works out pretty well. Lots of freshmen don't bring a car at all that first year, and it's just fine. There is parking available somewhere with permits, but it's further out if the lots near your building are full. So talk to parking if you're interested in bringing a car, and then that might help you decide whether you want to or not. But the buses are great, and your Western card allows you on that bus at free. And there's also a late night shuttle that brings folks from downtown back up to campus if they've been down shopping or getting a dinner or something. So we have a really good transit system.
Great, and then sadly, we only have time for one more question. So this will be going to Vicki. So can you drop off ship my room items instead of shipping them? And furthermore, can you just elaborate more on ship my room and how that process works?
Yeah, so you're not able just to drop off your items. You have to ship them to get them to our mail services department to get them then to your room. We're not able to offer where you can just drop them off and then have our staff bring them. The reason for that is our Western staff have that time before move-in to help us with that. But once move-in starts and everybody starts coming in, our whole staff is really dedicated to that move-in process and that move-in experience, and being outside checking people in and doing maintenance and custodial work in the buildings, making sure the buildings are ready to go, and addressing any concerns or challenges that do come up during those move-in days. So a little bit more about how that process works. It's pretty easy in terms of you can ship your things directly to Western. You want to look at our website to figure out how to do that in terms of what your address is and how to get it to campus. But once you send it to us, our mail services building is directly on campus. So it's not going to a warehouse or somewhere else in Bellingham. It's coming directly to Western, to our campus buildings. So we'll store it, and then a few days before your move-in, so if you're moving in on Thursday the 17th, that week before you come in, we'll move your belongings over to your room. So We will put it in one side of the room, just so it's clean, organized as much as possible. And then when you come in, it's there ready for you to go. And in terms of payment, we'll put that on your student account in terms of paying that $100 fee. So that's available as well. So more information on our website, but should be, hopefully we're hoping a pretty simple process.
Great, and there's actually one last more follow-up question for Karen. So how does mail work for students in the dorm?
Mail comes from the U.S. Postal Service to Campus Mail Services, and we have an electronic system that registers any packages that come in, and mail is just not registered because it doesn't need to be, but any packages are registered, and then Mail Services delivers to our front desks, and our front desk student staff scan it in at the desk. So it's been scanned in twice, and then a message is sent to your email, and it says, Francis, you have a package to pick up at the front desk. And our desk hours are, and then it tells you that. And then you can come down and pick up your package at your front desk. So it's really pretty convenient. Letters are less tracked. They're more just put into mailboxes, and then you have a key that gets you in. But this is my opportunity to strongly urge folks, don't send anything valuable in just a letter. It's always good to send it in a package so it's tracked and it's signed for and we know where it is. We don't want to send $100 bills in greeting cards and letters. So send your stuff safely, make sure it's insured if it needs to be, and it arrives at your student's front desk, and it's great.
Awesome, thank you. So unfortunately, that's all the time we have here again. For those watching and who want to refer back to the webinars, feel free to check out housing.wwu.edu. All the questions asked today and at our other webinars will be posted there. Once again, thank you to our panelists for joining us. And for all those tuning in, thank you for doing so. Don't forget to mask up and have a good night.